Hey everyone, Matt Pisarcik from RazorEmporium.com. Today from our downtown Phoenix workshop, we are going to do a disassembly video on one of the most sought after razors in the razor kingdom, the bottom dial Fatboy adjustable. So these guys are super hard to come by. Most people who find them end up paying a pretty good penny. If you're lucky, you may find one out there. We've always wanted to show how these things are put together and how to take them apart if you need to service them. Let's get started. All right, so first step is you take a quick look at it and you wonder, man, how does this thing come apart? So we're going to take a pair of needle nose pliers that have been kind of modified to take off this bottom retention plate, and with just a little bit of effort and being careful, you can get this bottom plate off. There we go. Okay, so the bottom plate is off. The next step is really important, to not lose this little tiny C-clip that's inside. So you're going to kind of want to carefully pull that out. And we actually have a little magnetic workbench here, so a part like that will be stuck into place, so it won't move. So now that we've got that C-clip out, the next step is to rotate the knob until the T-bar becomes loose, and that also should come out. And now our knob should also just be able to rotate until it's off as well. So now that you've got the knob off, we are going to rotate clockwise, and you'll come up to the point where the dial cannot go any further because it's stopped by the clicker. And now we're going to just kind of take a little tiny screwdriver, push the clicker up and out of the way, and we may have to kind of push down a little bit too and get it to kind of skip over that area. So a combination of pushing the dial in with each rotation as you're going clockwise, and also holding the blade tray pushed all the way into its lowest position, you can start to advance this clicker, and I should say this dial, all the way off until the clicker no longer is obstructing your rotation, and your dial should now come off. Be very careful, pull your clicker out. This clicker is very similar to a toggle clicker, or well, actually it's more like a nickel toggle clicker. It kind of has a little curly bit to it. It's a piece of spring steel. These are very fragile. They're very hard to replace, so do not lose this. Again, a little magnetic tool bench like we have does a great job of kind of holding these small parts. And now you're gonna have this assembly here. So you can see your adjustment plate, and you can see your guard and this large compression spring that's really performing the adjustment action. And we're going to take this apart. Okay, so we've got our handle into this position where the tray and the compression spring and the handle are really all that's left. We're going to use our extraction vise to go ahead and get these two parts kind of in between the jaws here. Put a little steel rod off to the side to kind of counter the pressure. It's just lined up the way I want it. We're gonna ratchet that forward, and it's gonna slowly and carefully extract the tray out without damaging our handle. And that's that. So the tray has come out. We have our compression spring, and our handle is safe and sound. Now at the bottom of this, a collet will come out. That collet is all that's holding the adjustment tray into the handle itself. So that's what we just extracted. We pulled those two parts apart. And without something like this, you risk damage to the components. Even our little extraction vise right here, we've coated the jaws with a tool protector, a tool cover, so that it's not going to scratch the metal, and it's applying a very slow, even pressure. We're not knocking it out with a hammer or anything like that that's going to do damage or bend these parts. So it's just one of those really good tools to have. So we've fully taken apart the bottom dial, and here are all the components. We have your door and T-bar assembly. We have our adjustment plate, adjustment tray, a compression spring, this collet it goes into, that's fed into your handle, which then has your dial, your clicker, your lower TTO knob, your C-clip, and your retaining plate. All these parts are what make up the razor. One common question we get all the time is how you take doors off. You can get involved with screwdrivers or other small tools. I found the best way is just friction with your hands. That way you're not going to damage any finish. So if you put the razor flat on a surface and then kind of pry the door out just by kind of lifting up with your thumb on the end cap and pulling out and down with your other hand, these doors will pop right off. And again, that's the way our technicians do them here. When you get involved with screwdrivers or other tools, you really damage or have a potential of damaging the finish. That's really the safest way to do it. So now this is how we work on all razors here at Razor Emporium, whether it's a tune-up or revamp. Everything gets taken apart into individual pieces. That gives us a great opportunity to clean them, to polish them, ultrasonically clean them, and this is what leads to a reassembly that is successful, that is maybe going to clear up issues like things that are jammed, things that are not working properly, things aren't clicking, no quarter turn. All these kind of little things usually end up getting cleared up by just taking the razor apart, cleaning the pieces individually, and putting them back together safely. So now that we have taken everything apart, polished it, cleaned it, ultrasonic cleaned it, we've even airbrush painted and dried and baked in the little clicker, we are going to put everything back together. So first step is, if you've already got the doors off, like I was showing earlier, you can pop them right back on just by kind of squeezing and prying that in. You'll hear them click into place. Your doors should be able to freely move. I always tell people that if your doors can't kind of swing like this, they're not going to open properly. So if they're jammed up, chances are it's the T-bar or these end caps have been kind of bent out of shape. So the first step is we're going to put our compression spring back onto our adjustment plate. Take our handle, feed that through. And this little collet needs to be kind of pushed back into place. And for that, we're going to use our arbor press. We always have plastic coated everything. We don't scratch metal. Seat that properly. So now our threading is reattached onto the adjustment plate, so now these parts can't come off. Okay, so now we're going to take our clicker, and the long part gets slid up inside this little slit right here. Very careful with that. Push it all the way up into top position. Now we're going to take our dial, and remember it's reverse threaded, so we're going to feed this all the way up. And you're going to kind of have to play a little game of pushing again, just like when we took it apart, pushing down the clicker so that it's rotating. Until you get into the right adjustment band for this razor. So we have a click, everything looks pretty well seated. There we go. And so basically you should get it to where the plate really can't go any further down, and it's going to advance up from there. So that on number one, it's pretty much like there's no adjustment at all off the guard, and then up to number 9, you're going to have a gap created. So that's our range we're going to be in. Okay, So now we're gonna put on the, put on a drop of oil. Always a good idea. We use mineral oil here at the shop. Anything that kind of rotates or these knobs and stuff, it's a great idea just to put clear mineral oil on. And again, that is gonna go on like this, counter. Okay, we're gonna now feed our doors back through, open them up to get them to go through the adjustment plate and the guard. And this should kind of snap into place. Okay, so using a pair of digital calipers, you can get a really good idea of where this internal carrier, as I call it, needs to be. I've got a measurement here of 2.46 millimeters from the lip of the TTO knob until the top of the carrier. So that's how far down that carrier needs to be. Using a small flathead, you can actually rotate the carrier and get it just in the right position. And that's what we have found works. So if you put this back together now, thread your doors through, put your C-clip in place, and now put your bottom retaining plate. Should line up. Start that by hand. And I found that sometimes holding the plate and rotating the razor is actually easier than trying to rotate the plate. Kind of give it a little snug amount of pressure. And there we go. We got full opening doors. We got a small quarter turn of a lock, and our adjustment dial goes from 1 to 9 and stops, and we can see that the adjustment of amount of blade exposure as we go up to 9, it's going to be a large blade gap, and as we go down to 1, a small blade gap. So that is the disassembly and reassembly of a bottom dial Fatboy. We hope this video has kind of shown some of the internal tips and tricks of working on these razors. I wish we had instruction manuals from Gillette, but most of what we've done has come through the process of trial and error, and sometimes creating, modifying, or coming up with our own tools or processes to do this stuff right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Stay tuned to Razor Emporium for all things vintage shaving, and let us know if you need anything explained in the comments below or a video you'd like to see from us soon. We'll see you next time, guys.